Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afif Akmal bin Muhammad Irwan. Today, my group and I will be explaining 3 questions that need to be answered for our self-knowledge that can use one day in our presentation. Okay, the first question is, differentiate the Islamic worldview and conventional worldview of accounting. As we all know, there are a few differences that make Islamic worldview of accounting and conventional worldview of accounting to have their own responsibility and specialty in every aspect. As we all know, Islam meaning peace and obedience, and the Muslim or Muslimah must be obedient to Allah and appreciate for the purpose of our existence in world. Okay, the next slide is Islamic worldview of accounting. Islamic worldview of accounting is focusing on both aspects, that is world and religious, while in the next slide, conventional worldview of accounting only focusing on world aspect that must be related in a profound and inseparable way to the religious aspect which it has ultimate and final significance. Okay, for the next slide, conventional versus Islamic accounting. Islamic accounting based upon ethical law originating in the Quran, Islamic law, and Sunnah. Islamic accounting must be reported in a holistic manner. As a result, both monetary and non-monetary measurement of economic, social, environmental, and religious event and transaction are measured in reported. However, conventional accounting based upon modern commercial law permissive rather than ethical. Historical cost is primarily used to be measured and evaluate asset and liability. From an Islamic perspective, current valuation is required, at least for the purpose of calculating zakat, necessitating the creation of a current value balance sheet. Okay, the next point is full disclosure to satisfy any reasonable demand for information in accordance with the Sharia. People, particularly Muslim, can use Islamic worldview of accounting to guarantee that Islamic organization, whether for profit, government or non-profit government, to follow the principle of Sharia or Islamic law in their dealings, and to assess if the organization goals are to be realized. When we look at the role of economy in Islam, we can see that the philosophy of all human action should be aimed at achieving a comprehensive human welfare in this life and in the afterlife. For the conventional accounting, limited disclosure, provision of information subject to public interest. For the conventional worldview of accounting is only focusing on identifying economic event and transaction that lead an organization for profit maximization. Okay, for the next point is for Islamic accounting, public accountability focus on the community who participate in exploiting resources. Following that, an Islamic accounting philosophy may necessitate a completely distinct statement to de-emphasize the emphasis of profit placed by conventional accounting income statement. It acknowledges that the report's intended audience is society. The reason for this is that society has the ability to hold corporations accountable for their action and ensure that they follow Sharia principle, do not harm others while making money ethically, and to achieve an equitable allocation and distribution of wealth among the society member, particularly among the corporation stakeholder. For conventional worldview of accounting, it is to focusing in personal accountability that focusing on individual who control the resources. It is defined as the identification, recording, classification, interpretation, and the communication of economic event to permit user to make it. Okay, so conventional worldview of accounting also strives to enable informed decision with the ultimate purpose of allocating scarce resources to the most efficient and profitable users possible through market knowledge efficiency. This appears to be accomplished by the user making informed decisions about their investment, such as whether to buy, sell or hold. While the Islamic worldview of accounting aims to enable users to verify that Islamic organizations such as businessmen or businesswomen or government adhere to the Sharia or Islamic law principle in their dealings. It also allows users to analyze whether the organization's objectives are being realized or be achieved. At the most basic level, Islamic organizations differ from their non-Islamic counterpart in that they must follow Sharia principles and rules, as well as strive to attain certain socio-economic goals advocated by Islam. So, we will go to the next question that will be presented by the next presenter.
Okay, now I will share about question 2A, which is what is code of ethics? A code of ethics is a set of principles intended to assist professionals in conducting business in an honest and ethical manner. The mission and values of the business or organization may be outlined in a code of ethics document, as well as how professionals are expected to handle problems. Ethical principles based on the firm's core values and the standard to which the professional is held. A code of ethics, often known as ethical code, can cover topics like business ethics, professional practice codes, and employee conduct codes. Next, an organization ethical rules and best practices for honesty, integrity, and professionalism are outlined in a code of ethics. Members of an organization may face punishment, including termination, if they violate the code of ethics. Specific regulation control company conduct in particular industry such as banking and finance. In some cases, a code of ethics may be adopted freely. A compliance-based code of ethics, a value-based code of ethics, and code of ethics for professionals are the three primary types of code of ethics. Companies code of ethics, which outline their commitment to sustainability, now include a focus on climate change. Okay, now the following are three different forms of business ethics codes. Number one is compliance-based code of ethics, which is law-governed concerns such as hiring and safety regulation for all enterprises. Code of ethics based on compliance not only establish norms for behavior, but also establish punishment for infractions. Second is value-based code of ethics, which is a company basic value system is addressed through a value-based code of ethics. It could lay out guidelines for responsible behavior in relation to the greater public benefits and the environment. Value-based ethical standard may necessitate more self-control than compliance-based ethical rules. Lastly is code of ethics among professionals, which is a fiduciary duty applies to financial advisors who are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission or a state regulator. This is both a legal mandate and a code of ethics that requires them to operate in their client best interests. Okay, now we go to the question to be distinguished between AAOIFI Code of Ethics and MIA Code of Ethics. The first one is the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institution and Ethics Board has accepted the release of the final standard of the Code of Ethics for Islamic finance professionals. The first of four major documents that AAOIFI planned to develop as part of its overall ethics initiative, which began in January 2017, has now been completed. The other three documents are a government standard on the implementation of the code to assist Islamic financial institutions in developing a robust ethics infrastructure for institutionalizing ethics, and a handbook containing real-world and hypothetical case studies to assist Islamic finance professionals in strengthening their understanding of ethics and developing their ability to successfully navigate themselves out of ethical difficulties. The newly established Code of Ethics supersedes the AAOI-FI Period Ethical Standard, which were issued in 1999 and 2001 respectively. The goal of creating a new code is to give Islamic finance professionals a better and more true grasp of ethics, to arrange it in a clear and easy to understand format, and most critically to accommodate industry needs, expectation and regulation. Face-to-face interview with various stakeholders, including members of various board, director and scholar, senior management and staff member of IFI, as well as industry regulators, were done in multiple countries for the same purpose. To promote maximum awareness and engagement, an online questionnaire and public meetings were held at various stages of the standard development process. While the Malaysian Institute of Accountants (MIA) wants to emphasize that the approved statutory auditor's responsibility is to provide reasonable assurance that the financial statement generated by reporting entities are honest and fair. Auditors play a vital role in creating confidence in the quality and reliability of audited financial account in Malaysia by conducting external audits. Auditors who are members of the MIA are obligated by the International Standard on Auditing and the profession codes of ethics when performing their statutory obligation. Furthermore, public interest entity auditors are required to follow capital market and securities legislation and are overseen by the Audit Oversight Board. When auditors can do their audit within a sound corporate governance ecosystem and provide their impartial opinion without fear or favor, the goal of audit can be met. Any concerns that develop during the audit should be handled to the auditor's satisfaction. When the reporting entity's relationship with its auditor is strained, the auditor's job may need to be reconsidered. That is an element of professional's job, taking into account all of the event and challenge that affect a job. The MIA expected accountants and auditors to uphold the highest ethical standards by adhering to the core principles outlined in the ethics regulation. The MIA values accountants and auditors who work tirelessly to maintain the integrity of the professions. Okay, that's all from me. Let's go to the part B, which will present by other presenter.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Aira Farhana, and now let me continue with the presentation. We're gonna move to part B, which is question 3. For question 3A, in what way can the Islamic concept of PT assist the accountant to become ethical? Okay, even if others believe it is legal and often give you decision on such topics, PT, also known as taqwa, fills the soul and soothes the heart. But immorality causes uncertainty and trouble the heart. The notion of PT motivates accountant to follow Sharia principle and avoids our prohibition. But the concept of public PT safeguard accountant by motivating them to follow Sharia principle and avoid our prohibition. When people choose to believe in the concept of PT, the prominence of ethical values over other values become extremely important, establishing an individual intention to act ethically. PT is a notion that can help accountants enhance their moral commitment to religion. The concept of PT will serve as models to influence accounting practice. The underlying notion of being a good man is extremely important, since while a good man will almost certainly be a good citizen will not definitely be a good man. In this view, Islamic emphasizes being good in Islam not only in general aspects such as good in society, good in career, good in education or others, but also in the sense that to be a good man in Islam, Muslim must be a good to themselves based on Sharia principle. This is due to the fact that Islam varies from Western civilization in terms of the pursuit of knowledge. A Muslim is not solely concerned with earthly matters. As a result, it is the starting point for accountants to integrate the Islamic philosophy into all aspects of their work. Islam makes a clear distinction between belief and faith, Imann, and submission in service Islam. It is both heart, qalb, and mind, akal, essence affirmed by tongue, lisan, as well as deed and labor. All of these should be in a healthy relationship between the soul and the body, which not only believe in the heart but also acts immediately by performing a good deed. It is critical to use the mind, akal, in the correct practice and application in everyday life in order to do God's work as a decent man and accountant. The concept of pity can aid a person such as an accountant in making ethical decisions in a certain situation. According to the Islamic worldview, the material world is a place where people are tested, whereas the afterlife is a place where they will never be tried. As a result of his success on the test, he will be happy in the afterlife. Finally, such a viewpoint permits the intrinsically religious person to explain himself as being susceptible to divine judgment at all levels of decision making, and as a result, he attempts to make the finest moral decision possible in order to reach felicity. The more a person's intrinsic religiosity, the more sensitive he or she is to making decisions. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Alia Farhanis. So I will continue to discuss about the question 3 part B. So what are the rules of ethical conduct based on the Islamic principle of trustworthiness? First of all, what is trustworthiness? Trustworthiness is a moral responsibility for everyone in the performance of their duties. The conduct of business transactions is profoundly affected by trustworthiness, which is a fundamental ethical ideal in Islam. For instance, in all of its commercial dealings, a businessman must be honest, truthful, and straightforward. That means, in an Islamic framework of commerce, there is no room for cheating, lying, or excessive swearing. Some examples from the Holy Quran are as follows. Our Lord's command you to render back your trust to those to whom they are due, and when ye judge between man and man, that ye judge with justice. Surah An-Nisa. As a result, there are characteristics of trustworthiness that can be defined as being for Allah, which is hablum minallah, or for a mankind, which is hablum minan-nas. There are 3 ethical under the classification for Allah, which are Iman, Islam, and Ihsan. Meanwhile, under the classification for mankind, there are 3 ethical of trustworthiness. There are responsibility, integrity, and accountability. Now, I'm going to talk about hablum minallah first as being for Allah. My first point is Iman. A person with strong Iman considers himself and everything of his belongings to Allah. He will surrender his ego, ideas, and desires and talk to Allah. A strong Iman leader will accept responsibility for his acts and will constantly emphasize good activities. Besides that, the next point is Islam. The meaning of Islam is the attainment of peace with Allah, inside oneself, and with our creation by willing surrender to Him. A Muslim leader will subordinate his ego to Allah and never regard himself as a supreme. The last ethical is Ihsan. Ihsan is the love of Allah, which this love of Allah motivates the individual Muslim toward attaining Allah's pleasure. For effective leadership, Ihsan is a crucial operational principle. To be aware of our presence and that He is watching over all we do, Ihsan requires a leader perform his or her best. That's all from hablum minallah. So now I will talk about hablum minan-nas. My first point is responsibility. When we talk about responsibility, we talk about rights. In order for us to understand responsibility, we also need to understand right. In terms of definition, right refer to obligation that must be satisfied. while responsibility refers to the action that must be taken to meet such obligation. In the concept of domestic leadership, for example, a husband has rights that must be met by his wife, such as the right to be respected, loved, and faithful. The wife's obligation, therefore, becomes to respect, love, and be loyal to her husband as long as he follows our rules and regulations in life. Responsibilities also are duties to be carried out by a person. Responsibility can be divided into 4 categories. First, self-responsibility. Second, responsibility toward family members. Third, responsibility toward society members. And lastly, responsibility toward the Creator. My next point is integrity. The integrity of a leader is strongly intertwined to the image of Islam, as well as the faith of his followers and family in this world and the next. Even in his final breath, Prophet Muhammad, who is regarded as the most devoted to his ummah, was thinking about them. This proves that Prophet Muhammad is a person of integrity, and that this integrity serves as a savior for humanity by saving us from Allah's punishment. Leadership with integrity in a community is an excellent leadership. Last point is accountability. From the perspective of Islam, accountability means each person has his or her duties to be carried out, and he or she is fully responsible for all action and accountable to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Creator. The more a person is closer to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the more he will know how admiration and promise for his followers. If anything goes wrong, he should take full liability of the happenings and challenges to cure the state of affairs, and does not put the blame on anyone else. To conclude, do we think these ethical rules are sufficient to discipline accountants? So the answer is yes. It is discipline us with these ethical rules. This is because accountant can be disciplined by the trustworthiness ethical principle, because Muslims who believe in the Quran and Sunnah can train themselves to work and honesty and trustworthiness while avoiding fraudulent transaction. Business interaction, the Prophet Muhammad is said to have emphasized integrity or truthfulness. I think that's all for me. That's all. Thank you.